What is confidence? Is it volume? Is it charm? Is it posture? The way someone walks into a room and takes up space? Or is that just noise? Because real confidence, it doesn't need attention. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't even need to be noticed. Real confidence is quiet. It is internal. It is a decision, not a performance. It says, I know who I am, I know what I control, and I do not bend to what I do not need. That is the Stoic definition of strength. This isn't the kind of confidence sold in self-help slogans. It's not about shouting affirmations into the mirror. It's not about forcing yourself to believe you're enough. It's deeper, older, sharper. It's about being anchored, so that when the storm comes, and it always comes, you do not drift. You do not panic, you remain, because what's built on truth does not fall apart when tested. And the Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but every night he reminded himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. That's not fear, that's focus. Seneca lost wealth, reputation, safety, but kept his composure, because composure was the only thing he truly owned. Epictetus, born into slavery, but he spoke as a free man because his mind was never chained. That is Stoic philosophy, not ideas, not theory, practice. And if you want confidence that doesn't shatter, you don't need more praise. You need more principle. Because confidence built on outcomes is fragile. Confidence built on approval is borrowed. But confidence built on character, on clarity, on daily disciplined living, that is confidence that can walk through fire. This series is not a collection of feel-good tricks. It's not about inflating your ego. It's about removing it so that what remains is real. In the next 12 chapters, we will explore 10 core lessons from Stoic philosophy, each one a blade to cut through the noise, each one a weight to strengthen your spine, each one a fire, not to burn you, but to forge you. You will not come out the same, because this is not about becoming confident, it's about becoming free. So let's begin with the first truth you must face. You do not control the world. You only control yourself. Picture this. You wake up. The weather is wrong. The people are late. The traffic is worse than usual. Someone sends a message that pulls you out of peace and into anger. It feels like everything's against you. And yet, you have not lost control, because nothing outside of you ever was control. You can't own outcomes. You can't own other people. You can't own timing, but you can always own your response. This is the first rule of Stoic confidence. Anchor yourself in what is yours. Release what is not. If someone disrespects you, you cannot control their words. You can control your dignity. If life takes something from you, you cannot always prevent the loss. You can control how you carry it. And if emotions rise like waves, you do not drown. You stand still beneath the surface, because your anchor is deeper than your fear. Confidence, then, is not the absence of challenge. It is the presence of clarity. It is the ability to say, this is mine to shape. That is not. So I will give all my energy to the first and none to the second. And that shift, that one line of thinking, can change your entire day, your entire identity. So here is your first practice today, and every day after. Ask yourself, is this within my control? If yes, act with full strength, with full focus, without hesitation. If no, let it pass. Not with anger, not with apathy, with stillness, like a rock beneath the river. The water can rage, but the rock does not move, and neither will you. Most people are looking for themselves in a mirror held by someone else. They wait for permission, for applause, for someone to say, you're good enough. But what happens when the applause never comes? What happens when the crowd leaves? When the likes fade? When the validation you've been feeding off disappears? You're left with silence. And in that silence comes a deeper truth. I never needed them. I just forgot how to trust myself. This is where Stoic confidence begins to break free from illusion. Stop seeking confidence in others. Start building it in yourself, because every time you rely on external praise, you surrender your power. You give a piece of yourself away to be judged, to be measured, to be accepted, and you may think you're being humble, but in truth, you're being dependent. The Stoics knew this danger. Epictetus warned, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Because true growth doesn't come with applause. It comes with rejection, with misunderstanding, with resistance. But if your confidence is internal, none of that matters. Because you don't build your self-worth on approval. You build it on alignment. So let me ask you, who are you when no one claps? Who are you when the spotlight turns off? Who are you when the people you were trying to impress leave? If your answer changes, then your identity is rented, not rooted. But when you build from within, brick by brick in silence, you no longer fear rejection. You expect it. You welcome it, because it only confirms that your worth was never theirs to give. Here's the shift. Don't ask, what do they think of me? Ask, what do I think of me when I'm alone? Don't ask, am I good enough for them? Ask, am I living according to the values I said I stand for? Don't ask, do they believe in me? Ask, have I kept the promises I made to myself? That is Stoic philosophy in action. Because here's what happens when you stop chasing validation. You free your energy. You free your mind. You free your time. You no longer waste your life editing yourself for the crowd. You become the writer, not the performer. And suddenly everything changes. You speak slower. You move with intention. You don't over-explain. You don't overshare. You don't overreact, because your peace no longer depends on their perception. But this doesn't happen by accident. It must be trained. So here's your practice. Every time you catch yourself thinking about how you're being perceived, pause and ask, am I acting from fear or from alignment? Then shift, back to principle, back to purpose, back to the you that doesn't need to be seen, to feel real. Because the most dangerous man in the room is not the loudest. It's the one who knows who he is, even when no one's looking. You want unshakable confidence? Don't outsource it. Don't beg for it. Don't borrow it. Build it. In silence. In solitude. In every moment you say, I don't need to be praised to do what's right. I don't need to be liked to stay in integrity. I don't need to be seen to be strong. That kind of confidence. It's not skin deep. It's soul deep. And no one can take it from you. Because you didn't get it from them. What if you gave your best and still failed? Would you feel proud or broken? Would your identity hold or collapse? That question reveals everything, because most people don't actually fear failure. They fear what failure says about them. They've tied their worth to a result, to a number, to an outcome they can't fully control. So when the result slips, they disappear with it. But Stoic philosophy teaches us a different code. Detach your worth from the outcome. Attach it to the effort, because the only thing that truly belongs to you is your action. Not the reward, not the response, not the ripple, just the motion, just the choice, just the discipline. And when you live from that place, you can never be broken by results. Epictetus taught, you are not your success, you are not your failure, you are the process. That is freedom. Because the man who lives for results lives anxious, always chasing, always tense, always waiting to be validated by a finish line that keeps moving. But the man who lives for right action, he is calm, because he's already won. The moment he honored his principle. Let's be clear. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you stop setting goals. It means you hold your goals lightly and your values tightly. It means your focus is not on will I win, but on will I show up with integrity regardless of the outcome? And that mindset is untouchable because nothing outside of you can define who you are. So what does this look like in real life? You train, but not just to win. You train because training sharpens your character. You work, not just for praise. You work because work builds presence, and presence is sacred. You speak, not to be heard, but because truth deserves your voice, even if no one echoes it. This is confidence that doesn't need an audience. It needs only alignment, and alignment is a reward in itself. Let's go deeper. What do you actually control? Your effort, your attitude, your honesty, your intention, your consistency. What don't you control? The reaction, the recognition, the result. So ask yourself, why would you base your identity on something that isn't yours to command? That's not strength. That's slavery. But when you detach your worth from outcome, you take your freedom back. Here's the practice. Each day focus on the process. Before every action, say, this part is mine. What comes after is not. Then do the work. Clean, sharp, without need, without chase. And when the result comes, good or bad, bow to it. Then let it go. Return to the process. Return to the principle. Return to the only thing that was ever truly yours, the choice to act with honor. This is not weakness. This is not apathy. This is the ultimate flex, to give everything and not need anything back. To say, I showed up with excellence. That's enough, because I don't serve outcome. I serve character. That kind of man, you can't bribe him. You can't break him. You can't control him, because he is not chasing anything. He is embodying something, and that something is unshakable. Motivation is a wave. It rises, it crashes, it disappears, it feels powerful, and until life pushes back, until the rain comes, until the body aches, until no one's watching and the applause has gone silent. Then what? Do you stop, or do you endure? This is where most people fail, not because they weren't inspired, but because they never learned to suffer well. Stoic philosophy doesn't ask you to avoid pain. It asks you to stand in it, to breathe in discomfort, to master your response, even when your emotions scream for escape. Seneca wrote, "We must see to it that we feel brave men do not lack pain, only that they do not surrender to it." That is endurance, not avoidance, not denial, but the ability to carry your burden with composure, to move through the fire with purpose, to stay in the fight when you want to quit most. Motivation may get you started, but only endurance will keep you there, because what you're building is not about a single day, not about the rush of starting something new. It's about staying in motion when the emotion is gone, when it's boring, when it's hard, when your mind says you deserve a break. Discipline says we continue. Let's be real, life will not protect your enthusiasm. It will test it. Every dream comes with resistance. Every decision to rise invites discomfort. So don't ask for it to be easy. Ask for the strength to endure. Don't pray for lighter burdens. Train for a stronger back. That's Stoic endurance, not toughness, but fortitude, not absence of emotion, but mastery of it. What does this actually look like? It looks like showing up to train, even when your energy is low. It looks like opening the laptop to write, even when your mind says you've got nothing. It looks like honoring your promise to yourself, especially on the days when you feel furthest from inspired. You don't need hype. You need a ritual, a system, a code, something deeper than feelings, stronger than moods, something that holds when you don't want to. Build emotional endurance. How? By staying. Stay in the discomfort. Stay in the boredom. Stay in the silence between you and your goals. Let it stretch you. Let it humble you. Let it forge you. Because the person who can endure emotionally will outlast the one who only acts when he's motivated, every time. The Stoics practiced this daily. They didn't avoid suffering. They invited it, in small doses. They practiced hardship before it arrived. Cold water, empty stomachs, quiet retreats, honest journaling. Not because they were masochists, but because they wanted control over their response. They knew, if you can suffer deliberately, you can survive inevitably. So here's your practice. Choose one area of your life and stretch it. Wake up early, even when you don't want to. Train, even when your mind resists. Sit in silence, and especially when discomfort rises, don't chase the feeling. Chase the follow-through. Let your actions prove something deeper. I don't need motivation to honor my code. I don't need to feel good to act good. I don't rise because I feel like it. I rise because I've decided to. That is the root of all inner power. So stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop negotiating with your emotions. Stop needing to be ready. Just start. Then stay, because staying power beats starting power every time. The ego is loud. It wants to be heard. It wants to be seen. It wants to be right. It needs credit. It feeds on comparison. It cannot rest unless it feels superior or validated. But here's the truth. Stoic philosophy teaches us. The more your ego speaks, the less your soul can lead, because the ego is reactive, but the soul is reflective. The ego is shallow, but the soul? It's the well you drink from when everything else runs dry. Confidence doesn't come from being loud. It comes from being anchored. And to be anchored, you must first learn to silence the one voice that always wants more status, more approval, more attention. That voice, that's not your strength. That's your insecurity, wearing armor. And the Stoics knew, ego is the enemy not because it makes you aggressive, but because it makes you fragile. Think of this, you're insulted. You feel the heat rise. Your instinct, defend, attack, prove. But the Stoic pauses. He doesn't ask, what will make me look strong? He asks, what will make me stay aligned? Because confidence that depends on domination is fear in disguise, but confidence that flows from stillness, that's rare. That's real. Marcus Aurelius wrote, choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. That's not weakness. That's sovereignty. To be unmoved when provoked, to be kind when misunderstood, to be centered even when challenged. That's the fruit of ego trained to be silent. Let's go deeper. Ego says, I deserve more. Stoicism says, am I fulfilling my role with integrity? Ego says, they should recognize me. Stoicism says, am I living according to what I claim to believe? Ego says, they can't talk to me like that. Stoicism says, what is truly in my control right now? Ego makes everything personal. Stoicism makes everything principled. Here's the irony. The louder your ego becomes, the more fragile you are. Because when the praise fades, your identity shakes. When someone disrespects you, you unravel. When life doesn't go your way, you collapse into complaint. But when your ego is trained to be silent, you listen more. You observe more. You act more intentionally. You're not pulled into battles that don't build you. You're not baited by every insult. You're not performing. You're present. And that presence is confidence. Here's the practice. Catch yourself in ego. When you want to correct someone to look smart, pause. When you want to post, to prove, I question the motive. When you feel offended, ask, what part of me is hurt and is it true? In each of those moments, choose silence. Not because you're weak, but because you're free. free from needing to be seen, free from proving, free from performing. That's not detachment, that's discipline. You don't need to be the loudest in the room. You don't need to win every debate. You don't need to be the center. You need to be the centered one. The one who walks in calm, the one who speaks when needed, the one who acts without asking for attention. That kind of man? He doesn't need to declare his power, because his presence is the declaration. The world will test you. It won't always be with fire or violence. Sometimes it's much subtler. A comment, a delay, a look, a moment when everything in you wants to react, and that's the trap. Because your reaction, it becomes your reputation, and more than that, it reveals who you truly are when things fall apart. The Stoics taught this. If you are disturbed, it is not by the thing itself, but by your judgment of it. In other words, it's not the event, it's your response. And if you can control that, you are free. True confidence is calm under pressure, not because you don't feel anything, but because you've trained yourself not to become what you feel. Anger rises, fear whispers, panic knocks, but you don't answer. You watch. You breathe. You decide. Because that's what calm is. Stillness in the middle of chaos. Clarity in the middle of noise. Strength when others break. Most people are reactors. They take every insult personally. They internalize every problem. They get pulled into every drama like leaves in the wind. But Stoics, they are mountains. The storm hits them too, but they don't move. Not because they're numb, but because they've chosen reason over reaction. You want to be powerful? Start here, master your pause. The space between what happens and what you choose to do next. That space is everything. In that space, you reclaim your mind. You hold your power. You stop being a puppet to circumstance and start becoming the architect of your character. What does this look like in real life? Someone disrespects you. You don't fight for dominance. You maintain your dignity. A plan falls apart. You don't complain. You adapt, adjust, move. Tension rises in the room. You don't add heat. You become the coolest head in the fire because the most grounded man in the room commands it without needing to control it. That's what calm does. It leads silently. Let's go deeper. You cannot always control the world, but you can always control your center. And calm is not passive. It's powerful. It means you're clear on what matters. It means you're rooted in principle. It means you don't waste energy reacting to things beneath your mission. And that kind of restraint? That's not weakness. That's weaponized clarity. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, wrote in his journal, "When jarred unavoidably by circumstance, revert at once to yourself, and don't lose the rhythm more than you must." That is the training. Revert, return, recover. Don't let one moment of emotion cost you your entire ethic, because anyone can be calm when it's easy, but only the disciplined remain calm when everything breaks. Here's your practice for the next 7 days. Make calm your goal, not outcome, not attention, just calm. When challenged, pause. When irritated, breathe. When triggered, smile, not because you don't care, but because you care more about your peace than your pride. And over time, you'll notice something beautiful. You react less, you observe more, you choose better. You become the anchor in the storm, not the leaf in the wind. Adversity doesn't break you. It shows you where you are still breakable. It doesn't come to destroy. It comes to reveal. The pain, the pressure, the disappointment. These are not the end of you. They're the beginning of something more real. And the Stoics knew this. They didn't run from adversity. They didn't resent it. They welcomed it because it was the only honest teacher. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." Because adversity doesn't care about your feelings. It's not impressed by your potential. It won't flatter your ego, but if you let it, it will introduce you to a version of yourself that comfort could never reveal. A version forged in fire, not fragile, but focused. Not protected but proven. Let's be real. Adversity is uncomfortable. It disrupts your rhythm. It pokes your wounds. It makes you doubt what you once believed. But here's the truth. What you avoid owns you. What you face frees you. And the man who avoids pain becomes soft. But the man who meets it head-on becomes sharp, because in the furnace of hardship, the excess melts, the ego burns, and only what is essential remains. So what do you do when life hits hard? You don't flinch. You lean in. You don't say, "Why me?" You say, "Let's see what I'm made of." You don't beg for escape. You look adversity in the eye and say, "You're not here to stop me. You're here to shape me." That is Stoic strength, not avoiding the fire. Walking through it with eyes open, because you don't truly know who you are until the plan falls apart, until someone betrays you, until you're stretched beyond what you thought you could hold. That's when your character is exposed, not built, exposed. Because if it wasn't already there, no moment of chaos could pull it out. But if it is there, adversity becomes your mirror, and what you see might surprise you. Here's the shift. Stop asking for ease. Start asking for endurance. Stop praying for peace. Start training for presence under pressure. Because the calmest man in the room, he's not the one who's had the easiest life. He's the one who's faced the most storms and chose to stand still. This doesn't mean you romanticize pain. It means you refuse to be owned by it. It means you use it. You let it cut away. The softness, the excuses, the hidden fear. You let it build your emotional calluses so that the next hit doesn't shake you, it sharpens you. Let's get practical. Next time hardship strikes, don't collapse. Journal the moment. Write what it's exposing in you. Ask, what can this teach me about where I am still reactive? Still afraid? Still weak? Then use it. Refine. Adapt. Get stronger. That's the way of the Stoic. That's the way of the warrior in silence. So let adversity come, not because you enjoy it, but because you're ready for it. And when it knocks, you don't hide. You don't explain. You don't retreat. You smile and whisper, "You came for the old me. He's gone. Let me introduce you to what's been growing in the dark." Words are easy. Anyone can talk about discipline. Anyone can describe their goals. Anyone can say, "I will change," but very few will move. Because motion requires more than belief. It demands effort, consistency, sacrifice. And the Stoics? They didn't care what you said. They watched what you did. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." In other words, speak less, do more. We live in a time where expression is cheap. Posting is easy. Announcing is normal. But executing, that's rare. That's quiet. That's sacred, and it's exactly where unshakable confidence is born. In the doing, not the declaring. The ego loves to speak. It wants credit before commitment. It wants respect before results, but your deeper self, it doesn't care about being seen. It craves alignment. It wants to become not just a peer. And every time you choose silence over self-promotion, you remind the world and yourself that you are here to build, not to impress. Real power is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't explain. It simply is. Like a mountain that doesn't need to say, "I'm strong." It just stands. Like a storm that doesn't need to ask for attention. It just arrives, fully formed. Your work should be like that. Not teased, not pre-sold, not explained, done. So what does speak less, do more actually look like? You don't talk about how early you wake up. You wake up. You don't brag about your discipline, you live it. You don't preach about your values, you embody them, especially when no one's watching. And that embodiment, it builds trust. With others, yes, but more importantly, with yourself. Because every time you act without needing attention, you reinforce the truth. This is who I am. Not just when it's easy, but when it's quiet. The Stoics practiced This relentlessly Marcus Aurelius never published his meditations. He wrote them to himself. It was his training ground, his silent forge, not to impress, to align. And that's your invitation. Stop trying to convince. Start trying to become. Here's the shift. Replace declarations with decisions. Replace opinions with operations. Replace performance with presence. Stop telling the world what you're going to do. Just do it. Let your results speak when they're ready. Let your silence build pressure until the work is undeniable. Because when you move like that, you don't just become respected, you become trusted. And trust is power. Here's your practice. Go on a word fast for the next 3 days. Don't announce your next move. Don't explain your routine. Don't tell people what you're planning to do. Just do it. In silence, with clarity, with fire. Let your presence speak louder than your posts. Let your habits speak louder than your hype. And when you do, you'll notice something shift, not just in others, in you. You'll feel more grounded, more focused, more certain, because you're no longer borrowing identity from attention. You're earning it through execution. That's Stoic confidence. It doesn't need the room to know. It just needs the work to be real. And when the work is real, words are no longer necessary. There is a war inside you between two voices. One says, take it easy. You've earned it. Rest a little longer. Why suffer when you can scroll, snack, escape? The other says, get up. Push forward. Stay focused. Live for something bigger than comfort. This war isn't dramatic. It's subtle. It happens in the background of your decisions 100 times a day, and the side that wins becomes you. The Stoics understood this. They weren't against joy. They weren't cold or robotic. They simply knew pleasure is a thief when it replaces purpose. It feels good for a moment, but it leaves nothing behind. It satisfies the mouth, but not the soul. And too much pleasure? It softens your edge. It numbs your fire. It dulls the clarity of who you are and what you're meant to become. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You were born to do what only you can do, not to be distracted by pleasure or praise. Because purpose sharpens you. Pleasure sedates you. Purpose stretches you. Pleasure soothes you. And while both have a place, only one builds you." Let's be honest. We live in an age that worships comfort. Everything is designed to make things easier, faster, more convenient, more addictive. But the Stoic path? It's the opposite. It asks you to voluntarily choose difficulty, to deliberately choose meaning over indulgence, because a life of constant pleasure is not a free life. It's a prison made of sugar and silence. So how do you choose purpose over pleasure every day? You start by asking, will this decision grow me or numb me? Scrolling for 2 hours? Numbing, training for 30 minutes, even when tired? Growth, eating out of boredom? Numbing, reading, journaling, thinking deeply? Growth. This is not about guilt. This is about alignment, because the more aligned you are, the less you crave escape. Here's the deeper truth. Pleasure is easy, but it costs you your edge. Purpose is hard, but it builds your edge. And the man with an edge? He's dangerous. He's focused. He's free, because he's not at the mercy of his cravings. He has trained himself to act, not react, to build, not consume. And that kind of man? He doesn't need to prove his power. His presence proves it for him. The Stoics trained this with discipline. Seneca practiced minimalism, not as a trend, but as training. To remind himself, I need less than I think. Epictetus said, it is not the man who has little, but the man who wants more, who is poor. So the next time You crave the shortcut, the indulgence, the escape. Ask yourself, will this decision honor who I want to become? If the answer is no, now walk away. Not because you're punishing yourself, but because you're protecting yourself, protecting your mission, your clarity, your fire. Here's your practice. Each morning, define one thing. What would choosing purpose look like today? Then do it. Not perfectly, but deliberately. Say no to the second drink. Say yes to the hard conversation. Say no to the endless scrolling. Say yes to the page, the pen, the path. And over time, pleasure loses its grip. Purpose becomes your fuel. And suddenly, you wake up not needing more, because you are becoming more. Most people live their lives like passengers, waiting, reacting, blaming, surviving. They wake up and immediately ask, what does today want from me? The Stoics ask a different question. What do I want from today? Because the truth is, whether you realize it or not, you are choosing. Every thought you think, every word you say, every action you take, every distraction you tolerate, every excuse you repeat, it's all a choice. So why not own it? Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, each day provides its own gifts, but most people never open them. They're too busy wishing the day was different, too busy complaining about what went wrong, too busy waiting for better timing, too busy escaping reality through noise, blame, or numbness. But Stoic philosophy flips this. It says, this is your life, not tomorrow, not someday. This moment, this challenge, this breath, and you either accept it or you waste it. This is not romanticism. This is responsibility. To live each day as if you chose it means to stop waiting for circumstances to change and start changing how you meet them. It means choosing presence over projection, discipline over distraction, gratitude over grievance. It means standing fully inside this day, not resenting it, not escaping it, but owning it. What does this actually look like? You stop saying, I have to. You start saying, I get to. You don't have to go to the gym. You get to train a body that can move. You don't have to go to work. You get to serve, to earn, to create. You don't have to face challenge. You get to test your edge. Today, now, here. That shift, it rewires your experience. From victim to volunteer, from passive to present. Let's go deeper. Every day holds lessons, but only the attentive will find them. The complaint is always available. So is the clarity. The comfort is always within reach. So is the calling. And the person who chooses this day, even when it's hard, even when it's messy, that person doesn't need life to be perfect. They just need it to be theirs. So how do you train this mindset? You start with the morning, before the noise, before the scroll, before the outside world makes a claim on your attention. Pause and ask, if I had chosen this day, fully, how would I live it? Not just the highlights, the whole thing, the delays, the boredom, the effort no one sees. Could you say yes to all of it? That's the challenge. That's the Stoic path. Because your day doesn't need to be impressive. It needs to be intentional. And you don't need to love every moment. You just need to own it. To stop hiding from your time. To stop treating today like an obstacle. To stop waiting for a life that already arrived, but went unnoticed. You want confidence? Live like you chose this. Because the person who walks like he's decided feels no need to explain. And the person who owns his 24 hours owns his life. 10 lessons, 10 practices, 10 lenses to see the world and yourself differently. But this isn't just philosophy. This is a blueprint, a way of walking, a code. And once you live it, not perfectly but honestly, you stop following it as a method and start becoming it. This is the turning point, the shift from discipline to identity, from performance to presence, from I'm trying to be, to this is who I am now. Let's walk it back. You began by learning. That confidence isn't given by others. It's built within. That peace doesn't come from outcomes. It comes from how you respond to what you can't control. Then you trained your attention, refusing to leak energy into distractions, refusing to chase validation, refusing to wait for perfect conditions to begin. You moved from reaction to reclamation, from chasing strength to embodying it. And now, here you stand, not at the end of a course, but on the edge of a new identity. Not because you've learned something, but because you've lived something. You've sat in silence with your ego and watched it shrink. You've stared adversity in the face and refused to flinch. You've acted without the need to announce it. You've chosen discomfort over distraction. You've stopped negotiating with your lower self and started leading yourself. And all of it has brought you here, to a place where confidence is no longer a feeling, it's a form. Where strength is no longer forced, it's remembered. So what now? You integrate. You stop looking at these lessons as steps and start seeing them as you, not habits, not hacks, values, woven into how you wake, how you breathe, how you speak, how you stand in the world. Let's simplify it. Who are you now? You are the kind of person who acts without needing praise. You train your mind to be still, especially when the world panics. You seek meaning, not stimulation. You stay rooted, not reactive. You work in the cold, dark, and let the results shine when ready. You speak less, and let your discipline echo louder than your voice. You say no to pleasure when it compromises your standard. You say yes to discomfort and gear because it brings you closer to truth. You stop waiting for life, and meet it fully every day. That's not personality, that's philosophy, made flesh. That's Stoicism, not as theory, but as identity. And now you carry it into every conversation, into every challenge, into every hour of your life. Not for applause, not for status, but because this is how you honor the breath in your lungs. Because this is how you walk with clarity, with composure, with unshakable calm, even when the world burns. This is what we've built. Not a louder voice, but a deeper one. Not a stronger body, but a sharper spirit. And when you live from that place, you no longer need to convince anyone that you're confident. They'll feel it in your silence, in your gaze, and how little you need to feel whole. This is the end, not of learning, but of seeking. Not because you've mastered everything, but because you've finally remembered who you are. You've walked through 10 Stoic lessons, not like a student memorizing lines, but like a warrior living them. You've trained the mind, you've tested the will, you've stood still in storms, you've chosen alignment over applause. And now, the question is no longer, what should I do? It's why, how will I live? You don't need another mantra. You don't need another quote. You don't need more information. You need only this: to act as if the fire is already in you. Because it is. To move as if your time is limited. Because it is. To speak less, do more, love harder, stand firmer. Because this life is not a rehearsal. This is it. And you are ready. The old you, he needed motivation. He needed the world to validate his strength. He waited for signs, but the new you carry the sign. You are the standard. Not because you've reached the top, but because you've stopped breaking at the bottom, because you've chosen to rise every single day, even in silence, especially when no one saw it, even when it wasn't dramatic, just deliberate. That is power. That is Stoicism, lived, not quoted. So what does life look like now? It looks like stillness in chaos. It looks like discipline and without ego. It looks like presence without panic. And above all, it looks like a person who doesn't need to prove their strength because they've become it. Let this be your final reminder. Confidence is not loud. It's not arrogant. It's not performative. Confidence is quiet, composed, calm, built from 1,000 small choices when no one clapped, when no one believed, when you were the only one left holding the line. That's what makes it unshakable. Not because the world changed, but because you did. So carry it. Not like a flag to wave, but like a fire to protect. Don't argue about it. Don't announce it. Demonstrate it. In how you wake, how you lead, how you listen, how you love. And when the world asks, what makes you so solid? You won't need to answer. Your presence will say everything. Because now, you don't follow Stoic philosophy, you are Stoic philosophy.